thanks again for joining me on another episode of MTV. Monster TV. Today we are going to talk about how to repair timber rot for windows and doors, which is a common one. And this is a job that you really need to tackle now before we get to the winter months, because when you get to the winter period, timber and wood, particularly external timbers, get wet, they swell, and when they're wet and swelling, it's very, very difficult to fix this. So you want to try and do this now before you get to that period. The times of the year to fix this, obviously before or after winter, but the problem is if you do it after winter, and people tend to think it's going to be summer now, I'll wait till next year, and it just never comes around. Doing this job now ensures that you're going to minimise the damage going to the wet months ahead. So very important to look at this one. So firstly, how do you know you've got rotted timber? Well, normally you'll start to see paint crack or swell or blister. And if you run your hand sometimes near window sills, you will actually feel it, and it feels almost like a putty, a soft putty or very, very soft surface. And sometimes you'll push your finger or thumb in there and you'll leave a depressed or a depression mark in there. Or you start to see timber start to splinter. That's a frequent one as well. And you might find that it's more of a splintering phenomenon this time of year because it's been dried out, but it's loose. Okay, so best thing to do is get a spatula, like a paint spatula, or even like a cutting out knife, and not too sharp, but just play around. And if you get any timber that starts to pick away with splinters or breaks apart quite easily, the rot has occurred. That timber you cannot paint over again. No good just sanding that, you need to remove that. So the old term, get rid of the dead wood, get rid of the dead wood. Pick it all out, remove that, ensure that anything you see that's left behind is solid and sound. Now you might look at, there was a video we did some months ago when I did some work on an external timber beam outside. We actually removed all the timber mass in there because we couldn't salvage most of that timber rot, and we actually left a hole between both sides of that timber beam. You shouldn't get to that extent with a door or a window sill, but if you have, this is the solution for you. So once you remove that dead wood, then you just check with your spatula or a tapping tool, just to ensure you can't hear that softness and it sounds solid and stable. Once you've got that, sand now all the remaining wood that's there, ensure that it's smooth, there's no splinters or areas that are sticking out, because that's going to impact your paint project. Once you've sanded that, get that down to where it needs to be, then you treat the wood. Don't just start to go and paint and patch it. You need to treat the wood first, because otherwise you've got fungus that's actually grown or absorbed into that timber, and that's a very common phenomenon with timber rot. And once you have that fungus, if you don't kill it, it'll come back. So our product WoodFix is what you use for that application, and I've got some WoodFix right here. And our WoodFix product you coat quite easily with a brush. It soaks in. You can give it 1 or 2 coats. Best to always give it 2 coats. Let it soak in. It'll look wet and it dries slightly shiny, but you can actually see that it's been applied. Put it in. It's totally safe inside or outside. There's no chemicals with it, no hazards. It's a natural product. Check that one out. Once you've treated the timber with that product, let it dry for a few hours, but best to come back next day. And then we put our Patch-It product. And the Patch-It, which you will see now in the video when I was mixing it up to do that timber beam job before, is quite an easy one. It's powder, you add water, you turn it into a paste, and you fill that empty void where you removed all that dead timber. Now, when you're filling it up, don't go too low. Don't be afraid to put excess if you need to. Use a spatula or a flat trowel. Fill all the void up, and if you've got excess, don't panic, because you can sand this product off. But this, while it's in a damp state, smooths off very, very easily. So once you've applied that product, fill it in there, compress it down into the surface, if it's on a windowsill or on the vertical of a door, and then let it dry, and it dries very, very quickly. And within sort of 20 minutes to half hour, you can start to come around with a light sanding paper and just get rid of any excess that's on there, because it's a lot easier to remove while it's drying. If you come back the next day, you can still remove it, but it's a lot tougher on the elbow grease for the fact that this dries very, very firm and replaces the strength in the timber. When you've done that, let it settle for 24 hours. Sometimes with timbers, different timbers have different swelling effects, and depending on what time of year you've done this and what condition the timber was in when you fixed it. But check that out first, because you might get some slight shrinkage around the patch of what you've applied to fix and the edge of the timber that was removed. If that happens, no panic. You mix up a bit more patch it, turn it into more of a wet mix, and just apply that over those shrinkage areas. It'll fill those voids. Let that settle for another 24 hours. Come back, give it a good sand, get it nice and smooth, and then you're ready for your paint job. Okay, so you've observed that after 24 hours, and then you get ready to paint. If you've got a door with the Patch It product, or you're even using it on a timber architrave, but that's an uncommon one inside, but with doors, particularly externally, and you need to nail or screw anything through the door, the Patch It allows you to do that. So you can saw sand through it, screw through it once it's dried, but you do that after you've painted. Okay, so get it all ready, in condition, ready to go. And once you've done that, wood fix, patch it, your timber rot problem is gone. You will get no more timber rot back on that spot where you've treated with the wood fix product. And it's a real simple one. There's no dangerous odours, there's no flammables with this product, there's no hazardous chemicals. It's a real simple one for anyone to do, even me, which if I did on that job. And if you want to check out even DIY Knucklehead, you would have seen him use this product quite effectively. It's a great video to watch. Check it out if you like, and the link is on there now. Don't forget to subscribe to Monster MTV. The link is below. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.